Hi, welcome to a new video dedicated to a new jumper X68S, and it's nothing else than a real brushless tiny wood clone. That's great! You have some super tiny 0703 brushless 15,000 kV motors, you have a very compact F3 flight control board, and some super tiny 3.5 ampere 4-in-1 ESC board supporting D-Shot 300 officially, but maybe we can have a hope to support also D-Shot 600. It's super compact. Let's have a look to this super tiny box. Okay, so let's open this very tiny box, super lightweight. First of all, here is the quadcopter. We'll be describing in few instance, but it's super looking like the King Kong Tiny 6, of course, obviously. We have a battery, which is a one-cylinder model. 350 with a discharger 25C, which is not so bad, and with a micro LED connector. Let's give some dimension. So it's about something around 37.5, okay, by 20.4, okay, and almost 8 millimeters. And if you need some information about the weight, it's about 10 gram .7. Okay, so what we will find in the bag: a tiny cable ending with micro GST connector, 4 position, with a pitch of 1 millimeters or 1 millimeters at 25, if I'm not wrong. So it will be hard to yes, is more something about 1 millimeters of pitch. And we have this USB adapter. So one side we'll have to plug this micro GST connector to this USB adapter, and the other side will have to be plugged into the flight control board. I will show later. So that's all. No instruction manual. So it's a main drawback, and some information have to be guessed, but I already find most of the most interesting. So let's measure the weight immediately without the lipo. And this machine weighs 24 grams, and let's add the battery, and we are under 35 grams. We are exactly 34.7 grams, and this machine must be compared with, for example, the former jumper. So it was a 73 millimeters, okay, but the motor was much more larger, okay, and I would say this machine must be also compared with some other models, such like the King Kong. Okay, I will open it here. The King Kong Tiny 6. Okay, like this. Okay, I'm just. And the other model have to be compared. The Dust X68. Okay, like this. So in comparison, we have all the 4 models. So the more similar is certainly the King Kong model. Okay, as you can see, it's very similar in terms of size, look, really, except that we have 4 quadri-blades props. Okay, here on the Tiny 6 we have 3 blades, very efficient, so maybe we can use them. But in terms of size, let's give immediately the distance between motors. So the new X68 is announced to be finally, I've got enough set, so around a little bit less than 68. We are exactly something 64 millimeters, and if you need some other dimension, so something around 78. Okay, and let's measure immediately the size of the props. So we have something about less than 30 millimeters, okay, props for the blades. And look on the bottom side, I will describe later, but I can immediately give you the information about the thread of the props. So it's a little bit less than 1 millimeters. It's something around 0.90 millimeters. Okay, so we have all the competitors, and look, for example, the difference of size of motor between the X73 373 versus the new one. So we have 0703 compared to the 1102 for the X73. So this one was working also in 1S, but was much more heavy out of the box. So you can guess that the new model is almost as light than the former jumper, but with the battery instead of this one. Okay, was without the battery. But let's compare with the Dust X68. I changed a little bit the props, but I gained maybe 1 gram versus the original model, but it's about 25, little bit less than 25 grams. So compared to this new model, okay, less. So the new model is even 1 gram 2 lighter, and let's compare with a Tiny 6. Okay, so with a brush model, which 20.4. okay, so we are just less than 3 grams 5 more heavier than the brush quadcopter, but this time it's brushless. So what we have a 600 TVL 1/4 CMOS sensor installed on front. Okay, hope you can see, with a wide angle, nothing announced, but it's about 120 degrees for the field of view, more or less. We have the canopy jailing everything, as well the 2.4 GHz antenna of the micro receiver, and the also you can see exiting from the rear part the 5.8 GHz antenna. Good news, we have a micro FL connector, so if you want to change it, no problem, you will be able to install a new one if you break it. So let's focus first on the bottom side. We have this 0703 motors, and the main drawback, you can see the main axis exiting from the bottom side. It means that in case of hard crash, the main axis can be damaged, and I gave the dimension, the diameters, it's about 0.90. So the main open question in case of hard landing, okay, especially on hard surfaces, can we damage the main axis, the main thread of the brushless motor, is a real open question. And they are all the brushless outrunner are directly exposed to a bottom crash, so no real protection. They are attached directly on the main frame, which is 100% plastic, and I don't feel it super solid. Okay, my point of view, look the flexibility. I'm afraid it can break. It's super thin here. Okay, so even if the strap are correctly oriented with 45 degrees to improve the thrust, but I feel that it won't resist to a major crash. So I'm a little bit unconfident about the durability of the frame. On the bottom side, you can see here a 6-position dip switch. Is exactly the same dip switch than the this IO camera. You can compare. Okay, we have both, and unfortunately the frequency selection is still unknown because the instruction manual for the X73 was completely false, and exactly the same, so you have to find by yourself, by dichotomy, your right frequency. It's a little bit annoying about point of view. On the front part, you can observe also another 3-position dip switch. It's an infrared time lapper. So if you have such kind of device, you can measure the times of each loops. Okay, for racing is pretty fun. So it's nice to have such kind of timer. 3 positions, so you can program up to 8 different code. So you can run, for example, with 8 participants. So it could be a very nice option for a tiny whoop or racing contest. Okay, so what we have also on the rear, the micro LED connector, and also a white LEDs. So let's turn on the machine first. Okay, with the micro LED connector, no power switch. And the ESC music are super not loud at all, so it could be a problematic if you lost this machine into the tall grass. It's super you have to be much more louder, because out of the box like this you cannot find if it's beyond 1 or 2 meters. It's almost impossible to hear. Okay, it's very weak, okay, in terms of sound level. But good news, thanks to the BLHeli suit, we can do some things to push a little bit the volume of this bother, okay, including into the AC, well, if I can say, okay, but and thanks to the last version of BLHeli, we can also use a different time of bass and use a chirp, which is first of all more louder and can be heard more further. So it's a way to bypass the problem that there is no built-in buzzer inside this kind of machine. As you can see, there is no micro USB port. Okay, so it will be a problematic, and the only way to, for example, bind this machine and to access to the Betaflight install will be to open the canopy. It's not a big job. You have just to remove this 1 and 2 lateral screws, okay, to access to the main electronics. So as soon as you want to bind it or want to change some different Betaflight settings, you will have to do it, okay? Maybe there is a small mode to do to avoid the opening for the binding. You can drill a small hole here, and you will, thanks to a thin tip, you will be able to press the bind button, but out of the box is not the case. So now I will open it and show you a little bit more some details of the setup. Okay, so let's open it, and as I said previously, just tiny screws to remove, don't do them, okay? And after a couple of seconds, you will access to the main electronics, and I will immediately do some remarks. So I will need a bit to open it, so just press like this, and it's coming. And as you can see, immediately you have this FPV camera attached to a connector. So be aware and immediately notice that the white cable, okay, the white wire is installed on the right side, okay? You will understand why. So I will advise to remove the screws first if you don't want to lose them, and then I will detach them, okay? So there is no opposite connector installed on the flight controller board. You will see that you have directly the pin, okay? So I will make some close up. I hope it will be focused. It will focus a bit. Yes, you can see that we have some pin here, okay? And it's a pretty small, and just here we have another connector, and it will be useful to connect to Betaflight, and it's so small. And first, look that you can see that the flight controller, the receiver, sorry, it's blocking partially the insertion of the special micro JST connector for the Betaflight connection. It's a real drawback, so be aware, because if you push it too strong, you can break the other soldering job of the micro receiver. So you have to gently, okay, push the rear side of the micro receiver to access more freely to the here to this 4-pin connector with a pitch of 1 mm. It's super tiny, and what I strongly advise is to use a small tip, okay, a tweezer for example, and try to move gently, very gently, the connector of the receiver, okay, this 3 FPV camera here, the 3-1, a little bit forward, okay, and also try to detach from the flight micro receiver the 4-pin for the USB Betaflight connection. So it's really a strange design. Why it didn't install a real micro USB? There's enough room in my point of view, so I don't understand. For me, it's one of the main drawbacks of the architecture, after probably the weakness of the frame. So I think you will need to stock a lot of spare frame to this machine, okay, or to transplant to something a little bit more durable. So on top of it, I've got here the FierceSky version, so with the bind button, okay. The FierceSky receiver can be paired directly with the USB connection. So if you connect it, I will show you how to proceed. So you will be able to bind directly without to plug the battery, but of course you can also use the battery directly. We have a small LEDs on the rear, okay, and the 5.8 GHz antenna, as I said previously. So what I will advise is also to install more vertically the 2.4 GHz antenna. You can see it's completely laid here. Okay, so it will reduce considerably the 2.4 GHz radio range. So if you meet some lower range, please install. Okay, so you will need to drill a small hole on the top of the canopy. So have a look to the FPV camera. So as I said previously, you will have to plug the white cable wires on the right. Be aware, because when mine came, one wire had been desoldered, and as you can see, there is no specific angle, okay, up tilt angle, okay, on this canopy. But good news, it's super easy to apply one. You just need to remove this camera, these two screws here, with blocking this bar, and then you can push directly on the FPV camera, and you will be able to apply a little bit more an up tilt angle, about 20 up to 30 degrees. Okay, actually I will keep the camera like this. So 3 modes at least to do. To remove this metal plastic bar to apply as an up tilt angle for the FPV camera. Drill a hole, okay, so more on the right side around here, for example, to let the antenna, the 2.4 GHz of antenna of the FSK receiver, whatever the receiver you bought. And also, as you can see, for the FSK version, somewhere around here, to drill a small hole to access directly through the canopy to the bind button if you need to bind directly. So 3 modes to perform out of the box. We have all the MOSFET of the 4-in-1 ESC board. Okay, so supporting officially 3.5 ampere. No information about the peak, but should be around 4, okay, maybe 5, okay, and it's flashed with BLHeli S, and good news, it's seen in BLHeli configurator or BLHeli suite, so that's great. And I strongly advise to increase the level of the beacon level, okay, if you want to use this trick to find your lost machine into tall grass, for example. But don't abuse of the volume, it can damage probably the motors versus time, okay. And you have also to decrease the beacon delay to something about 2-3 minutes, okay, when it will emit some noise. So let's give, for example, the weight of this top canopy part, including the FPV. So this is a pale model out of the box, assumed to be, and it's weighing 4.7 grams, little bit heavy my point of view, so it's not super light. Yes, we can be lighter, and maybe we can remove this, look that, it can be removed this top here with a novel. Should be removed, and maybe we can drill some hole. Sounds to be super solid, okay, this top canopy part compared to the lower frame, main frame. So this one is surprisingly super solid, while this bottom not super. Okay, so maybe some weight can be saved. So how to insert the battery? No problem, we have to insert laterally, okay, and then push it, no problem, and then after to connect the battery. Notice that larger battery can be installed. For example, the one coming with the Dust X68 works perfectly, and it's a 450 model, and then is not increasing so much the weight. So we have a lot of things to do, and first I want to show you how to connect. So as I said, I strongly advise, if you can, first to disconnect the receiver port. So be aware, be super docile and gently when you will remove first the receiver, and then you will have to find the plastic pad of the micro GST connector front of you, and then to insert by the rear side the connector. Okay, so move and clean a little bit forward with an angle like this, and then the hole on the rear side, and start to insert the battery, the USB connector like this. Do it gently, okay, to not break anything, and voila. So now it's plugged. As I said previously, you will have to find the plastic pad front of you, okay. Then we can reinstall, if you prefer, the FPV camera, okay, if you want to see some information. So as I said, the white wire should be on the right side, and look that when I install everything, you can see that the both connectors are bent each other. So the FPV camera is bent in this angle, while the USB connection is bent in the other side. So it's a real drawback why they didn't install a micro USB connector. So what I want to show you after is how to bind this machine. So you can use this cable and via an USB port, okay, or a power bank, okay, it's no problem. Or if you don't want to use this cable, use directly the battery. But in any case, you will have to remove these two screws to access to the and remove the canopy to access to the bind button. So let's do the binding procedure right now. Okay, so let's start the binding procedure. So prepare a model with the FieldSky D8 protocol selected, ready to bind, as you can see. So what you will have to do is to keep press the bind button, okay? And we have in front here two lights, one red and one green. So one is associated with the power of the receiver, one with the binding status. So you have to keep press the bind button, okay, and then insert your USB source. Okay, we have a solid green light. I'm ready to press bind, and it's flashing like this. I can release everything, turn off everything, turn off here. Now I will turn on the quadcopter, waiting for binding, and then I should have here a solid green LEDs with the green red one. I should have some telemetry information, and as you can see we have a RSSI and something homogeneous to a voltage. That's great. These two information are transmitted. So it's a good news for the FieldSky version. Telemetry is here. Okay, so now what I want to show you is the default Betaflight settings. This machine comes with the Betaflight 3.1.6, almost the last test one, so I don't think I will flash it. And let's check the default settings. Okay, so it's time to connect the machine to the USB port of your favorite PC. And let's connect to Betaflight. So let's check immediately the version install. We have the version 3.1.6 and with an F3 omnibus board, okay, and I strongly advise each time to dump your default settings in case you modify something badly. So just copy and paste into a text file, okay, and you will be in any case be able to recover if you did a mistake. So let's now discover a little bit of the settings. So I will press the setup, it will reboot. Okay, I will press connect. It's a little bit long. Okay, and let's go to the port. So as you can see, only the USB VCP, okay, for the flight control board. So actually my receiver should be in PPM because no UART serial UART port is open for an S-bus connection, for example. So I'm not sure for all the type of receiver for the foot above the FlySky if it will be always in PPM. But anyway, let's continue. Let's check the default configuration. So we are in Quad X and we have a specific board alignment of 270 degrees, so be aware of that if you try to flash a new version of Betaflight to re-enter this value. And we have D-Shot 300 turned on by default. It was officially supporting, so maybe we can try later to turn on D-Shot 600. Should work in my point of view. So it's confirmed that the receiver works in PPM, okay. We can monitor the VBAT, okay, that's great, and as well the current meter is also turned on. In terms of frequency, the PID loop it's turned to 2 kHz and 8 kilo for the gyro, so maybe we can push up to 4 kilo for the PIDs. The CPU load is pretty low, 17%, it's not so much. what we have the black box turned on. I don't know why, so we can immediately turn off. And we have also the USD. It shouldn't have, because we don't have any USD, and the SD card. Okay, and we don't have any SD card, so we can remove this option and save and reboot. Okay, so let's connect again. So the CPU usage decreased a bit. Let's continue with the fail-safe. We have a drop for the fail-safe, that's great. And let's check the PID tuning. Okay, so red profile 1 and the different settings. So the p-value are pretty low. Okay, and as well as the d-value. So I hope it won't wobble too much like the X68 was out of the box. The rate are the default Betaflight, as well the level strength, so maybe we can decrease a little bit this value. For the receiver, I will turn on my radio. Okay, and no problem, I've got all the information. By default, the channel mapping is Aeron elevator throttle rudder. Okay, we can apply probably a deadband of 4 and 4 for to be sure. Okay, to remove any jitter action, especially in ppm, could be very useful. I've got at least 2 aux visible. So let's check now the mode, the different flight mode, and what we can see that there is no arming specific sequence switch. Okay, so and you have only the angle mode available when the aux1 is about a nominal value. Okay, as you can see, so you are by default, when your flight mode switch is in up position, you are in acro. Be aware, as soon as it's in the medium or low upper, you will engage the angle six-axis stabilization. So be aware, if you're a beginner, usually it's inverse, so we will change that in the option. No reason, no of air mode turn on. Okay, or and no beeper, obviously, because we don't have. Let's check a little bit of the other configuration, but nothing to do specifically. So what I want to show you now, it's the default BLHeli configurator. Okay, and to see the default settings. Okay, so I will start BLHeli configurator. So I will press first connect, and then I will plug now the battery. Okay, and to read the setup of all the ASE. The load of the beacon are very weak. Okay, and I will press read setup. So as you can see, the last firmware installed is the 16.6. Okay, so probably there are some new ones, especially the 1665, which offer new option in terms of beacon strength and the beacon type of buzzing. Okay, so we have a very small beep strength, so if you want immediately you can increase it at least to something about 100. Be aware, don't abuse of that, because it will make the motors at the SC very warm versus time. Okay, and decrease the beacon delay to 2 minutes. Okay, you have 2 minutes before this buzzing will emit some noise. We can write the setup for all of them. Okay, and immediately if we disconnect the BLHeli configurator, you can hear that the buzzing is much more louder now, and it will be a little bit more easy to find the machine. So what I want to do now is to modify a little bit some default Betaflight settings to optimize a little bit the things. Okay, so let's reconnect to the Betaflight configurator, and then go to the configuration and immediately turn on the D-Shot 600. Okay, and press save and reboot. And if this option is available, this D-Shot 600 should remain, and it's okay, so should be supported. That's great. Okay, so let's also increase a little bit the PID loop to 4 kilos. Okay, and this value should increase a bit, but not so much. Okay, it's 20% now, so 5% only. It's not so much. It's really worthy. So what I want to do now is to configure a little bit my flight mode. So I will remove that mode first. I will use angle, okay, with the default settings. So when my flight mode switch, it's an 0 position, okay, I would prefer to start in angles, axis, horizon, okay, and I will add air mode. And so for the acro here, I will have also air mode for both horizon and acro. Okay, I will write it, save. So now no problem with my switch. I can select between angle, horizon, and air mode, acro plus air mode. I want to see if the anti-gravity is introduced. No, it's from the 3.1.7. So if you need the anti-gravity mode, you will have to install the last Betaflight version. And actually, the Betaflight 3.2 is in approach, so will be available pretty soon. So no extra other settings to apply. So good news, D-Shot 600 is supported. And I think I will make another video when I will also flash the new ESC firmware and to play with the new beacon music buzzing options available from the 16.65. Okay, so now it's time to make a little outdoors demonstration. Okay, and let's see how good is this little machine.